have been numerous incidents of rape all over South Africa these past weeks. Expressions takes a look at some of the cases that have made it to the media, with Omotoso's case taking center stage.
He told me to lie back again, and then he proceeded to go in between my legs until he climaxed.
Ngile ekliniki and then ngathola usister umesi. Samchazisela ukuthi umntwana ube nenkinga yokuthi adlwengule, and then wathi kithi ayikho into akangasiza ngayo. Wangibhalela ipiece yephepha, wabhala crisis. Akazange afake address, sambuza ukuthi kukuphi lapho, wathi yena akazi direction sizohamba sibuze.
We need the Roads Counselling Centre to take more action for when people come to them and say, I was raped, do not be turned away because there's a waiting list.
Ngobani ababenza izinto? Ngobani abasifeyilayo njengodata? Anifeyili nina nedwa, nifeyila nathi.
We ask, is South Africa taking the issue of rape seriously as more and more cases are coming up?
And on that note, we want to say hello, Dumelang Sanbonani, South Africa. Welcome to Expressions. This is definitely the place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala. I'm your host, Umqolisi Masango, Sizangin Mkoma from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Now, tonight we put the spotlight firmly on the culture of rape in South Africa. Now, our poll question, is South Africa failing the victims of rape? And this is a burning issue in this country because South Africa is among the countries with the highest rape statistics in the world. According to the police crime statistics, more than 100 people are raped every day in our country. And that's just based on the attacks that are reported. This means that thousands of people are sexually violated every year. And although women and children are mostly at risk from sexual abuse, men and boys can become victims of sexual violence. Now, Expressions took to the streets to find out what young people have to say about rape. Take a look at this.
Good afternoon, you're speaking to Marabong. Welcome to Expressions. Today we'll be talking on a very, very sensitive topic, rape.
If mina I'm wearing my short skirt and when someone ukuthi ngidlwengula, angisho ukuthi ngoba ngigqoke kanje izakimi ungidlwengula. Because if umuntu afuna something uyakutshela. If I say no, ngithi no.
This is what's happening in the community. You see women being treated like nonsense, like they're not even like remotely human. It's because like, what do parents teach their children? What do they tell their children? Do they sit them down and talk to them?
Take this kid who was at Dross, for instance. I mean, he was playing, or she was playing rather, with other kids, like in the play area. That's the last place we would expect something bad to happen. And just for one moment, I a toilet. Something happened in that toilet.
What should happen to the people that rape?
Mina ngicabanga ukuthi death penalty mayibuye bafe bafe lamadoda lawo sikhathe anikhathe okhathelanga ngikhathele hayi mabafe kamampela honestly sikhathele because ayikho into abayenzayo bavele bathi ubani ureshu ene phelele emoyeni sikhathele death penalty ayibuye.
Some of the comments from young people on the streets. But to help us unpack this issue a little bit further, I'm joined in studio by Dr. Matome Khanaga, who is a gender activist from SANAC. And I'm also joined by Vincentia Dlamini, the operations director from WAMEC, Women and Men Against Child Abuse. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us here on Expressions.
Thank you.
And of course, I never do this by myself. My co-host Mkolisi is on a social media corner there, and he's going to be giving you some of your perspective on this burning issue that we're discussing in studio. Guys, let's get straight into it. South Africa is regarded as the world's rape capital. I mean, we're looking at statistics that says 41% of rape in South Africa are against children. What is this telling us about the human condition as well as our social fabric? Matuma, let me start with you.
Yeah, I think it's important on that note that we don't look at rape in isolation, particularly on the issue of when there's explicit violence on the criminal justice system when the event has happened. But we go right to the bottom of the root cause, because that is also where we normalize, the rape culture within our societies. And this is the space where, there's gender-rigid, toxicity beliefs around that, and as well as just some of the beliefs in society. And that's where we normalize the rape culture in what we say, in terms of the rape jokes, the locker room banter, and also the beliefs around women belong in the kitchen, boys will be boys.
Yeah.
And by normalizing it, then it graduates to degrading, where there's harassment and verbal abuse, and that graduates into, taking away the autonomy.
Yeah.
And then by that stage, we see the rape culture. So we need to go to the root cause.
Yeah. So I mean, and I like what Matum is saying around the fact that it starts right from the bottom, right from the fabric of how we socialize our children, how we speak amongst ourselves, the language, the normalizing, where we get to a level where we're unfazed. So when we're looking at rape, it's not just a singular phenomena. We need to look at it multidimensionally. But I think what I want to find out from you, I mean, we know right now the Omotoso case is currently center stage, and I mean, we were reading some of the newspapers today. I mean, 3 cases already today in our newspapers that were looking at just how rife this issue is. And I think maybe at the crux of it is to say we're still putting the burden of proof on victims. Victims themselves are the ones who are given the responsibility to prove with, outside of reasonable doubt that this happened to me. Is this just? Is this fair?
The criminal justice system, unfortunately, doesn't favor our victims. And you can look at the secondary victimization that the victim has got to endure. First of all, you've been violated. The next thing, when you go to service providers who do not want to be doing this kind of work. We've seen one clip where a nurse just wrote a piece of paper and say, I don't even know where you're going. So that is secondary victim. And now there's processes that are not adhered to. Do we have resources? Are the staff that are placed there, are they passionate about this? Are they receiving adequate training? And even if they are passionate, but do they have the tools to work with? We knew that sometimes there was an issue with rape kits not being available, but we need to get everything in order. But then the other thing that we also need to see is that we need to educate the public about their rights, and we need to let prosecutors engage with our clients. We need to tell police officers that they need to tell victims' rights. How many rape victims know that they have a right to ask for compulsory HIV testing of somebody who's raped you? They don't know. They don't know that. And victims don't know that sometimes when they are tired under cross-examination, they need to say, I am tired. I need a break. That is my right. And sometimes the prosecutor is kind of your lawyer. So when you are asked questions that are unfair to you, they need to be there because you are the witness here. And when you are there and you're giving testimony, you need to be a credible witness. Yes. So victims need to know their rights. Victims need to know that when somebody is eligible for parole, that they need to be made aware that the person who was raped you 15 years ago is actually applying for parole, and you have a right to submit that. But those are not told to our victims.
Which for me is a sad part around our rape culture, right? And you're talking about normalizing, and you're saying that we need to educate victims. But at the same time, I mean, when we're looking at, what happened with the Dross incident, we're dealing with a little child, right? Who will not necessarily have a voice. How do we deal with issues like that, where children themselves are victims? We're expecting to put children on, on trials like that.
They do, unfortunately. And the burden, like you've said, that it falls on the victim to prove. Sometimes a lot of our children cannot testify, and those cases are thrown out of court. And those ones that are thrown out of court, the suspects are the ones that are continuing with the act because they've let loose because of that. And unfortunately, as a society, we need to put the shame where it belongs, because now you find a 7-year-old is expected to say no to an adult, but that's not how they were being raised. They were raised to respect adults.
So we definitely have to look deeply into the way that we raise our children, and I think you guys have given us a lot of food for thought. And we definitely want you to engage on this also important conversation that we're having in studio with us. Remember, our Facebook handle is Expressions SABC1. You are watching South Africa's biggest current affairs show. You're watching Expressions. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back. You're still watching Expressions, your hashtag #1 youth current affairs show. Now, this evening we're talking about the culture of rape in South Africa. Siyabuzage, is South Africa failing the victims of rape? I'm now joined by Baba William Siko Odishu, who is a rape survivor and an activist. Baba Sigbingele Skwamgele with Expressions. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You know, William, listening to you lay bare details of your assault at the hands of someone whom you trust, it made me wonder so long, Baba Uguti. One thing that really gripped me was when you said you wanted the church to take responsibility for what had happened. What took you so long to actually speak out?
As you can well imagine, it is difficult enough already as it is for a woman to come out. So, to speak about these issues of rape. There are many women who are raped, but those rapes are not reported, and that is a fact. So you can well imagine that for me as a man, I had to consider so many dynamics, personally, family, the community, society as a whole. So that's why it took me so long to come out, because I had to be prepared for the consequences. I had this fear. You know, normally when we speak of rape, immediately what we think, it's a girl, it's a woman. Very rarely do we associate rape as something that affects men, you understand? So yes, I had a dilemma that I had to deal with, whether I should come out, although I carried this with me for so many years. It always upsets me to talk about it. Yeah, but I just couldn't. It was hard. First of all, the perpetrator was white. Number two, he was a priest. And then here I am, this black guy from some village in Limpopo, coming up to make such allegations against such a man of great integrity, a priest for that matter. You can just imagine, especially way back in the 90s, how unlikely I would have been believed. And as indeed, those of you who listen to what I've been saying, that has been the case. I've never been believed up until recently. So only just last week, after I came out, was it then affirmed by the perpetrator, whereby he issued a public apology to me. But it was not the first time. I tried to handle this privately with the church, you understand? And it was difficult.
Now, this is a church that tried to sweep this under the carpet, if I'm not mistaken. You also made mention of how you were paid a certain amount of money to keep quiet.
Yeah, not necessarily to keep quiet. They call it ex gratia. So it's like saying to you, look, we don't like you coming here and making these allegations. Why don't you get this amount? Why don't you take this money and go away? So that's kind of how like the church wanted to handle this matter. And now, think of it. This is now a church, an international institution, doing this to a human being. What more than of the ordinary man on the street? You see, every day we speak of rape. It's shocking that we can now associate the word rape with culture. We speak of rape culture. You know, by culture we imply something that is the norm, something that is acceptable, that is ordinary. You understand?
Right.
So
let's talk about what you would say to the young boy watching Expressions right now, going through the same thing that William went through in the 90s. What would you say to him?
You know, it is real. There's a recent case here that I've been reading about in Mpumalanga. Just last week, a 10-year-old boy was raped. Now, had people, some headers who had people not seen that old man doing that, raping that young boy, I can guarantee you that boy would never have come out. So for me, to the young men out there, I would like to say, I mean, look at me. It has taken me so long, 30 years of harboring so much pain in me. It's better for you, you know, that you should come out. Immediately it happens. Immediately it happens. Tell someone you trust. Tell somebody in the family. Talk to your teachers. Tell a friend will tell another. You know, spread the word rather than leave it out to eat you afterwards.
We wish
That's
you all
what I
the
would
strength.
say.
Thank you so much for sharing the story once again with William with us. And of course, Mbugeli Lapekaya, we like to also find out what you have to say. That's why we check in with your expression for this week.
Hi, Expressions. I feel like the system in itself is like very broken and needs like a lot of improvement. In terms of rape, I feel like, yes, the system has failed the victims of rape. People don't know how to speak to authority figures because they don't know how or where to go or who exactly to speak to, and they don't feel comfortable with it. So yeah, I feel like it has failed the victim of rape. Thank you.
Sentiments being echoed is that our justice system has failed our victims there. Perhaps let's also catch up with 2 or 3 comments before we head to the break. Mohali says, in South Africa, if you have money, you are above the law. Stembiso says, if you rape a woman, you are not man. You are kind of an animal that you're not respecting the world. Women are the light of the world, guys. Let's be men. Tebiso says, sooner or later, I think rape is going to be official in South Africa. Now, those are some of the strong sentiments that are even coming out. And it seems like our court system is also not victim-friendly. But, William, would you agree before we go to break?
Yeah, you know what? Let me just say it was not easy for me even to open a case. I had to have the assistance of the lawyer, the attorneys with me. Because when you walk in, normally, as I say, when you walk into a police station and you come up with a story like that, they look at you as if you're like somebody from Mars.
A lot still needs to be done.
A lot still needs to be done.
I get Mbugeli Sibegalapo for this part of the show. Remember to phone a friend to tell a friend that the hottest current affairs show is now showing. This is Expressions.
Welcome back. You're watching Expressions, your #1 current affairs show. We are talking about a burning issue here in studio. We're talking about the rape culture in South Africa. And the whole question that we're asking you this evening is South Africa failing the victims of rape? I'm still with my guests. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap everything up. But I want us to leave some pearls of wisdoms, you know, to young people who are watching the show tonight. I think William sort of highlighted something that was so important around the culture of silencing victims, of not believing victims. And I think I just maybe want to start with you, Matome. How do we change that? How do we start supporting our victims? How do we start creating an environment where people can speak up and they don't wait for 12, 20, 15 years in order to say something about what's happening to them?
So we start where we have the most power, and that is with our social networks, our friends, brothers, colleagues, because that's where we have the most influence. And that is where we start with the problematic language. When a friend makes that rape joke, whether the joke is sexist, homophobic, transphobic, or it reinforces toxic masculinity, that's where we intervene, to say, you can't speak like that. And where, there is those rigid gender stereotypes, to say women belong in the kitchen, boys will be boys, women must get paid less, we challenge our social networks with those stereotypes. And even those who graduate to the next level of degrading, where they start harassing or verbal abusing, catcalling, stalking, sending inappropriate pictures.
So we need to call each other out. We need to call each other out and keep ourselves accountable.
Precisely.
And I think, Vicentia, let me bring you into this. There are lots of young people watching, and we've seen the statistics that thousands and thousands of people are getting raped every single day, but nobody's speaking up, right?
Those are reported.
Reported ones. Speak to them, please encourage them, inspire them.
We just have to acknowledge that it's not going to be easy, but we have passionate people working in the space, which is our organization is one of them, because we are committed to fighting for the rights of our victims. And they should just get in contact with us, because they are going to be made aware of their rights. They are going to help them, because the law is there. South Africa has got good pieces of legislation, but when it comes to implementation, then we are an organization that actually takes people on and actually make them accountable, because we know. And ordinary people don't know what's expected of service providers.
So you guys are definitely there to support victims. thank you so very much for coming to the show and giving us a lot of insight and food for thought when it comes to this issue. And I think we want to say to victims, speak up. Please speak up. Then at least we can do something about this issue, right, Mgo?
Well, indeed, Jackie. And of course, you know, some of the sentiments coming out on social media is that our courts need to be more victim-friendly, because that's what leads our victims to keep quiet and not telling their stories. And of course, Mbugeli Lapekaya, it seems like we do not have the poll results for this evening, but I think we do have the video diary, because we always like to know Uguti Lapekaya for Notice Kulumengani, and this is what you suggested for next week.
High Expressions, please talk about the scandals that are facing the matric finals, as well as a supportive message for the matrics for their final exams.
It's going to be an interesting one. My exams are so
yeah, we're going to give you nice tips. Eh? We got your backs. We got your backs. We know how important this is for you as young people, right?
Yeah. And it's been my guests too for joining us, and lots of strength to But William as well for coming out and sharing his story. To Wawazutia's expressions, we only begin the conversations. It's up to us as a community to take it further and ensure that we take the baton further. For being with us as well. Cutting Edge is up next. We wish you a spectacular evening going forward. Touchline plays us out. From all of us here in Salegal.
Adios.
She says she hates who she's becoming. I don't deserve a man who loves me. I don't feel like I'm a woman. I don't feel like I'm a woman. See, the days are dark and the sun don't shine, and I don't really feel like going outside. I don't feel like I'm a woman. 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 And she said, she's wide awake, not to extent, the pillow's wet. Sleeping pills and painkillers next to her bed. A couple books and audio clips of TD Jakes. A shadow of her old self, it's not a silhouette. Haunted by a memory, she's heavily scarred. And when it's time to face the enemy, her friends will depart. Berateka is cut, she met them cheat out a shot. But driving car who told her smart, and so she gave him her heart. It's her first time in love, this how it feels like. Finally a person she can post on Insta, hold hands in public and show him big suck. Always in the arms of the one man she trusts. She says it's that time of the month whenever they're on their own. Oh, my sister is scared to say that she ain't done it before. Oh, boy, sega aggressive. Kululangin God. And look how she's cut some. Hemanong nigin toya. Hang up on in wet. Hang up on babang in dam. And the magatin joyak kolos are begas wrong in bam. She loses power with every stroke, he gains it more. No remorse, he doesn't stop, he wants it so. He wraps it up, he drives away, he's going home. She lives to tell the story, and this is how it goes. She says she hates who she's becoming. I don't deserve a man who loves me. I don't feel like I'm a woman. I don't feel like I'm a woman. See, the days are dark and the sun don't shine, and I don't really feel like going outside. I don't feel like I'm a woman. I don't feel like I'm a woman. I don't feel like I'm a woman.